What's up everybody, Nicholas here. Today I'm going out with my mates Seb and John, and we decided to go for the ocean side of the Mornington Peninsula. We had seen decent reports of lower swell in at least a couple of the coves, and we were keen to see if we could get any crayfish or just basically mix it up from going to the bay. So we got changed in the car park, walked out on some rocks, and were treated to some pretty horrid visibility. We swam out a bit, and as you can see, it's cleaned up a little bit and it's not as green, but still pretty shocking. There's a couple sweep about, but all much too small to shoot. And something that you can't see too well right now is the swell and the surge, which is actually pretty intense and just makes it really hard to get your bearings, to safely dive, and to aim at fish. We soon decided to start looking for abalone because the fish were pretty few and far in between, and regardless, they were getting pushed around a lot by the surge, making target practice pretty tough. So we got out the torches and started finding a couple black lip abalone. I'm here just using my hand and going for the element of surprise because I've lent my abalone tool to Seb. One thing, if you're using your hands, you just need to be really careful that you don't accidentally shuck the abalone on the rock. So you just need to really have the element of surprise and the right amount of force. Seb down there was making quick work with the abalone tool and just handing them to me.
Those are huge. Can you measure this one?
So you can see how the kelp is moving, that pretty intense surge. And this was actually enough to make John get out and get on some dry land and just wait for us. As we got out, we passed by this little pool and archway that was too good to pass up. So at this point, we were done with the ocean part of the dive. Seb had to go on home, but John and I were still keen to continue. So we drove over to the bayside, and we're pretty pleased right away that we had made this decision because the viz in this shallow water was really nice. Here I am lining up on a leather jacket. This one is pretty nice size right behind some weed and too good to pass up. Leather jackets aren't the biggest hunting challenge in Victoria, but they're good eating, and yeah, I like them. So the whole time while I'd been gutting my triggerfish, I saw a sand flatty out of the corner of my eye, and so I reloaded with my eye on it, and when I finally took the shot, I shot right underneath it. I was pretty frustrated at that point. A couple minutes later, I am swimming over some more weed, and I see this flatty right underneath me. So close I didn't even have to pull the trigger probably, but I still did because I didn't want a second mistake on my hands. This is a rock flathead. You can tell by the coloration and especially by the little dots on its side. They're pretty squirrely, so you need to get a good handle on it, but beware of the barbs on the side of its head. So for this sand flathead, I waited a bit too long and spooked it, and then didn't get a good enough angle and shot it right in the side to where it tore off, and then spent the next 10 minutes looking and luckily was rewarded with finding it again. You can see it moves as I shoot, but luckily the shot is good enough and I'm able to grab this flatty that I've now shot twice. Something that actually really was painful to see was this really small eel or something similar that was so small yet the spear was able to still fully penetrate it. And this is one of those times when spearfishing actually does have bycatch. You never like to see it, you never like to wound another animal or let a fish tear off a spear, but sometimes it can't be helped. So John had somehow spotted this sea dragon, which is unique to Australia, and this is actually the first time I had ever seen it. And we got to see it eating those little fish you see above its head, which was the coolest thing. And then right after, I saw a big shape. It looked either like a dolphin or a shark, so I put the drone up to look for it, but had no luck. Back home, I filleted up the flatheads and then started to make a dish called creamed paua. I have collected these abalone yesterday and kept them alive by putting a damp paper towel over them in the fridge. And now I'm going to pop them out of their shell by running my thumb along the shell and underneath, and you'll kind of hear some noises as you pop it out. And then it just pops out. And there you go. Okay, because it's going to be minced. So to put this recipe together, I pounded out the paua into a mince, browned up some onion and garlic, added the paua, added some cream, and then made that into a pasta dish, which was actually really nice and probably my new favorite way to have paua or abalone. Thanks for watching.